Hello, everyone, and welcome to a really special episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders because we're in person. I'm your host, Sheldon McKinney, and I have with us today the National Eastern Region Vice President, Caroline Groth. So a familiar face, especially those in Kentucky. You were our CFA president last year, a Locust Trace FFA member, and you've been on our podcast before.
Yes, happy to be back.
Yes.
Last time it was from my freshman dorm room, so
Man,
it's fun to
life
be in
can
person.
change, can it?
Yeah.
So Caroline, maybe tell our listeners, what does a National FFA officer do? And how many are there? I think approach this from somebody who has no idea how big of an undertaking and how special it is to get to be a National FFA officer. So tell us, what is it?
Just to break things down super simply from the get-go. So in FFA, you first serve as a chapter officer. In Kentucky, you're then a regional officer, right, state officer, and then national officer. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of the levels. But to be elected to national office, you get the bid from your state. So after convention this past year, I was selected to be Kentucky's national officer candidate, and then ran for office in October, beginning of November at this last national convention, alongside 37 other candidates from across the United States. And then a team of 6 is elected every year at convention. So I have teammates from Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio, California, and Georgia. So all across the United States. And kind of throughout the year, what we get to do is we do chapter visits, just like state officers do. Mm-hmm. We do foundation visits, similar to state officers, doing the industry tours, getting to visit with partners and stakeholders who support National FFA and also build new relationships. We serve on the National FFA Board of Directors, which is such a unique opportunity to get to be in a room with amazing leaders and ag teachers from across the country. We do legislative visits with representatives and congressmen from across the United States, and what we're doing right now, we get to visit state conventions. Yes. So it's so good to be home at Kentucky's convention. We go to about 8 divided amongst our team, and we also do leadership training with state officers in July called State Officer Summit.
Yeah. So give us a sneak peek. How many states have you been to already for state convention? And tell us, where's our Kentucky girl gone?
Yeah, this is my 7th state convention. Okay. So kicked it off with Nevada State Convention, Alaska, Montana, Minnesota, Kansas, Arizona, and then Kentucky now. Next week I'll be in Florida.
And then that will wrap up your state convention tour.
Yes, that wraps up state convention season.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What are some of the companies and sponsors with the FFA you've gotten to visit?
Yeah, a highlight was definitely Cargill. Okay. They're a huge FFA supporter, and they actually had a day at their main office in Kansas called Glimpse of Cargill, where they brought in hundreds of Kansas FFA members and got to teach them about basically the inner workings of Cargill. Okay. And it was super fun because Rob Stewart, who's on like the exec team for Cargill, is actually University of Kentucky Wildcat.
Okay.
From one K-State to the other. And he actually was an ag teacher in Lexington, Kentucky before moving to Kansas.
Well, what a small world.
Yes.
I think FFA makes the world so small. It's like the 7 degrees of, do you know so-and-so? Do you know so-and-so? It's
exactly.
so easy to make those connections. But
yes.
I know I have had people send me your picture from Montana. Shout out J.R. Schinkel, a former Kentuckian who moved there. I've had your picture sent to me from Arizona, from colleagues there, and Kansas several times. So you're making a great impression everywhere you go.
Thank you.
That's for sure. You also got to travel internationally.
Yes.
What do you do? Tell us more.
Yeah, so every year the national officer team gets to take an international trip to, usually it's Japan. Sometimes it switches up. But Japan has a program called FFJ, Future Farmers of Japan. That's kind of like a partner with FFA. And we actually got to do chapter visits internationally in classrooms in Japan, which, to be totally honest, I was extremely nervous for.
Sure.
Because obviously I don't speak Japanese.
Okay.
And the only time I'd ever traveled internationally was on a Disney cruise to Mexico with my parents.
Okay.
So like the most Americanized way to travel. And to just get completely immersed in like their culture and their language was so new, but like an experience I'll never forget.
Yes.
Scott Stump, who's the National FFA CEO, before we went, he said, Caroline, your mind will expand on this trip. You'll see things and experience things like never before, and you'll come back and your mind will never shrink back to how it used to be because you just have been exposed to so much.
That's a great way to look at travel, and you've done it internationally and then so much around the country this year. What are maybe some ways you think your mind has expanded this year?
I really think getting exposed to like the culture in different states.
Yeah.
Like I'm a Kentucky girl through and through, and we traveled some for showing sheep, but I never traveled as far as like Alaska.
No, yeah.
And truly, every state has its own culture.
Yes.
Like Alaska, where they're so far removed from the United States. I mean, they call us here like the lower 48.
Yes.
And they just have like this community that's very tight knit. Their convention had 235 members in total, which was a record-breaking year for them. But it was so special because they all know each other. A lot of them are family, and like you feel that at the state.
Yeah.
And then like Montana, they have their own culture. Like they're the cowboy state, and that's so evident from swing dancing to passing at their delegate session that members could wear black cowboy hats with official dress at outdoor events. Like every state has their little quirks that make it so unique.
Yeah. So when you go to all these places, you're yourself, but you're representing FFA. What are some tips you have to connect and maybe assimilate quickly?
Yeah. I mean, this morning we got to have a breakfast with all the state officer candidates, and both you and Mr. Koloff just talked about the importance of being you. And I think in leadership positions, sometimes we're so quick to get caught in comparison and that like almost comparing our personalities and who we are with others. And I'd say to connect with other people, you can't get caught in the comparison trap.
Yeah.
Like what people are looking for is just you. Like they just want to see Caroline. They just want to see Miss McKinney. And when you can just be authentically yourself and talk about the things that make you, people are going to connect.
That's right.
Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Exactly.
It is, because you miss out on the blessings that are in front of you right now because you're looking at somebody else's. You got to stay in your lane.
Yes.
So in all your travels, I have an interesting question. You have probably flown more this year than ever before.
Oh, yes.
What are your top 3 essentials for air travel?
I love this question. First, a podcast, which it's kind of funny that we're
Shout out
recording a
Growing
podcast
Kentucky's
now.
Leaders.
Shout out Growing Kentucky's Leaders. But truly, like, this is going to sound maybe a little sad, but when you're on the road all the time, like, I'm by myself a lot, and just having somebody else's voice in my ear, like, something's comforting about that.
Sure.
So, a few of my favorites, I love Growing Kentucky's Leaders. I love That Sounds Fun with Annie F. Downs.
Okay.
It's just not very educational, but just something that like it's very joyful. It's kind of like personal growth. And there's a couple like ag podcasts that I listen to just for news. But
what's your favorite? Maybe somebody is looking.
Yeah. What is my favorite one? Oh gosh. AgriPulse has a bunch of podcasts. If you go to AgriPulse website, any of their like daily break, any of those, they're like 5 to 10 minutes, a good like quick news update. Yeah.
That's great because you have to stay informed.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So a great podcast.
Podcast is number 1. Number 2, I travel with my own pillowcase, which is like so silly, but like when you're on the road all the time, like hair and skin, like it matters when you're staying at all these different hotels. So I travel with a silk pillowcase, and then also a journal.
Okay.
I think through the process of preparing to run for state office, like I learned that there's so much power in reflection.
Yeah.
And every single night, without fail, before I go to bed, I write in my journal. Even if it's just like a bulleted list of the people I've met that day, like it helps me not only reflect on the day, but like carry those memories. And so at the end of the year, when I'm reflecting, I'll have all of these lists of names and people and experiences to look back on. And like I'm on my 4th journal of the year, and it's so cool to think like one day those will be sitting in my future home, and like my kids can look at us and be like, oh, like look at what she did this year.
And you will too. I mean, Caroline, like you've been so faithful about this journaling and reflecting piece. Even before you were state officer, when we worked together as state officer, you did that so well. I really failed to do that. And I think that most people probably think, well, social media is my memory keeper. But it's different.
Yes.
It's different than writing it down and being reflective. I had a grandmother who journaled every day of her life. If I've told you this story before, but she just would journal like what they put in the garden that day, what she cooked for supper, what the weather was like. I mean, nothing real personal or heartfelt. But when she passed away, reflecting back on just those regular days where, you know, they read a lot of journal entries at her funeral because it was just a reflection of a beautiful life and the little things that matter. And so documenting those meaningfully, I think you're making a treasure for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the reflection also helps me with gratitude. Like when I get down or like get stuck in that comparison trap, I think gratitude is the one thing that like always pulls me out. And I think that's something like my mom instilled in me from a young age. Like whenever I'm having a bad day or questioning or struggling with anxiety, she'd be like, Caroline, what are 3 things you're thankful for? And I think even if it's just that, like writing down 3 things that you're thankful for each day, like you will not regret it.
Yes. No, it's great. Gratitude helps build joy, that's for sure. So, well, you know, in all of your travels and all the people that you've met, you're a Kentucky girl through and through. What has made Kentucky even more special now that you've been out to see this world? What do we have?
I cannot even tell you, like, landing in Kentucky on the plane, I was like a tourist in my own town. Like, I pulled out my phone. The person next to me probably was like, where is this girl from? Because I was, like, taking pictures. We flew over my high school. I saw the football stadium. And then we flew, like, over downtown Lexington. And I saw Rep Arena and, like, was taking pictures and sending it to everyone. I was like, we're going to be here this week. But the people, like, that's probably such a cliche answer, but I cannot emphasize enough. Like, Kentucky people are just good, salt of the earth people. They're people of faith. They're people who really prioritize agriculture, and they're people who just love FFA. Like, I think back to our, like, foundation board meetings and, like, being in that room, like, every single person in that room would do anything for anybody in Kentucky agriculture. And like that's something that Kentucky has that is so powerful that not every state has that community.
That's really wonderful. You know, I have heard that from other people who had, they had worked for a big company. I won't share what it was. They had been on the foundation board many decades ago. And the end of their career took them to a different state. And they said, I was just so shocked that this network of agriculture did not exist in other places. Because here we have all of our universities that teach agriculture. You know, our land grant, UK, has offices and extension offices everywhere. We have a great relationship with Farm Bureau, with Farm Credit, with the Kentucky Ag Council, with all of our commodity groups, FFA. We regularly connect and spread the word and can work hard on a unifying message in the Department of Agriculture. You know, and he said he was just so shocked that many other states did not have that central leadership and connection.
Yes, and we want to welcome everyone in too. That's another thing. Like, I'm from Lexington, so urban, and I was welcomed immediately into this like agriculture network and family. I think that's something that's so unique about Kentucky is we want to grow and we want to be just like this big ag family.
Yeah, we do, and it's important to know that it matters. We need to be adding new people to the agriculture circle all the time. Well, let's see. Caroline, what have been some meaningful moments as you have like reflect back on all your journaling? What are 2 or 3 things that you're like, this has been a moment I'm always going to remember from this National Officer year?
There are so many moments like that. I can think of a couple with my team that like I will forever remember. We were sitting down one night. We live in apartments in Zionsville when we're not traveling. And we were all in the girls' apartment one night. And it was the night that we were writing our workshops. And we sat in a circle, all of us, and we went around and like shared about what our workshops were going to be on. And then we each went around and talked about like what we thought everybody else's should be on. And we kind of just shared like, I see this in you. And like, this is such a skill that you have. And like, this is what you're going to like bring to members. And it was one of the most like fruitful, mature like conversations I've gotten to be a part of. Just like sitting in a room where everybody is just admiring the strengths of everybody else.
That's
like
special.
There was no comparison in that room. Like it was just admiration of each other. And I think like that was a moment I will never forget. Like I called my mom the next day and I'm like, I wish every team was like this. Like switching that in your mind from comparison to admiring. Like yes, somebody else might be better at this than me, but wow, so good because somebody else gets to experience that. So that's one moment I will never forget. Another moment is little moments with members, like whether it's sharing a meal or sitting down with somebody who's by themselves in the hallway. Like those are my favorite moments of the year. There was a sweet member in Kansas. Her name was Addie, and she was running for state office. And I didn't have a vehicle in Kansas, and so she would drive me back and forth from the hotel. And those car conversations, like
they were great.
I would reflect on them every single night, like just talking about her family and the people who shaped her, and like those are the conversations I like to have. So having those with members is like very impactful. And then really like the coaching moments. Like I think to be a leader, you have to be a lifelong learner. I know that's something our Nick Carter always stresses is being a lifelong learner. Like he wakes up ready to learn something new every single day. And as a national officer, we just have this wealth of knowledge that people just want to pour into us. And I have the sweetest past national officer mentor, Anna Mathis. And so our phone calls, and she lives in D.C., so like our meetups we've gotten to have at coffee shops, like those are moments I won't ever forget.
Yeah. That's so special. I think that's something that FFA does really well that is unique is coaching, especially as you get further in leadership. Nick Carter is a joint mentor of ours, and it is such a special relationship if you can have a lot of respect for somebody and you are open to letting them speak into your life by saying, have you thought about this? How's this going? How's this feel? How could it be better? And you've had a lot of wonderful coaches. I have too, but man, it makes you grow.
Yes.
And I saw a quote recently that said, if you are coachable, people will continue to coach you. But if you are not receptive, eventually people will just stop talking.
Oh, that's good.
And I think that is true. That if you bristle back, you have feedback, you're not open to that, you quit growing because people just go like, they're not interested.
Yeah. Kirby Green, when she does her little podcast, she talks about building your board of directors.
Yes.
And I think to any member listening, I would encourage them to do that, to be coachable, to always be willing to take feedback. Like sometimes it's hard to get feedback. Like that's the only way we grow.
Yes, it is. I want to share a funny thing before we wrap up with our last three questions. You were on a special state FFA officer team. You girls were so funny. Ann Jackson and Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes, so the girls, Ann Jackson and Tyler. But you all had PowerPoint parties.
Oh, yeah.
I had never heard of this before. And it delights me. Will you tell people what a PowerPoint party is?
Oh, absolutely. We enjoyed this so much. Like, truly, our team just loved each other's company. Like, still do to this day. We have a group chat on Snapchat that, I mean, it's active every single day. And I love that. Like, they're my family.
Yeah.
They'll be in my wedding. Like, I love those people. But our PowerPoint parties, we would draw topics, whether it was, like, having ChatGPT come up with topics or, like, random ones. And we'd have to create a PowerPoint. So it was, like, one was like famous movie actors and who they would marry on our team, or like future homes for our teammates and like what they would look like, the most random stuff. And then we'd Photoshop pictures of like our faces onto these famous people, or like random pictures we found on Google. And all of us still have our PowerPoint presentations. We need to like have a resurfacing of that.
Yeah, you all did so much work.
Yes, we did. We spent hours making those presentations. It was so silly, but those were great moments. Yeah.
So shout out, what celebrity would you have been matched with to marry?
Oh, I can't remember. No, it was the Longest Ride. It's a rom-com. The cowboy in that movie.
Okay.
I can't even remember his name. That was my guy.
Well, Blair in the show notes. See if you can connect who that is. We'll reach out.
Yeah. He's probably like married and like 50
we have no
by
idea
this
what
time.
this
But
is.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, Caroline, we end our podcast with the same 3 questions every time. And the first is, what keeps you motivated as a leader?
My people. Truly. And I think like being back home is so cup filling, like getting to see my Kentucky FFA family, my literal family, my church family. Like those are the people who got me here, and those are the people who keep me motivated. Like on my hardest days, it's a phone call from them that keeps me going.
That's great. And you've had to work on not to say you've had to work on staying motivated this year, but you have worked hard this year, and it is demanding travel.
Yes.
It is demanding on a person to be on and engaged everywhere you go. It's an incredible opportunity. It's incomparable, but that's not to say that it's easy.
Yeah.
You have to keep working at it.
Oh, definitely. There are hard moments. Being away from home, being away from my like college friends, and like watching them continue life. Like there are hard moments, but the good outweighs the bad, and like it's such purposeful service, and like such a year that, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity that I'll never have an experience like this again. So just cherishing every day.
Yeah, that's great. let's talk about philanthropy. You know, the
Yes.
Kentucky FFA Foundation, we're a philanthropy, give back time, talent, and treasure.
Yes.
What's the best way you've gotten to engage in philanthropy?
Ooh, this is fun. Definitely, this is like such an easy answer, but our foundation visits. But specifically, I think a huge part of philanthropy, and you know this, is telling stories. I think that's how we connect as people.
Yeah.
And when interacting with sponsors and stakeholders and legislators, like they're just people too.
Yeah.
They just want to hear stories.
That's right.
So like telling even our funny like team stories, like one of our first nights together, we had like this Christmas dinner. Some hilarious memories came from that. But like we would share that with sponsors. It's just like they're human too. They want to hear the funny moments. But
Yes. Yeah, that is one of my favorite ways if we're at a sponsors dinner and it's kind of feeling a little buttoned up is to share kind of maybe a funny story that the state officer shared, because it lets our officers know that they're people and vice versa. My favorite one this year for forever is about Blaine Bramall, who's a current state FFA officer, when he caught a baby coyote and needed rabies shot. He did not get rabies shots. He should have. But we were with a sponsor who was saying that he had to take rabies shots as a child. And Blaine was like, I too should have had rabies shots.
I can relate. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. But it broke the ice, just sharing. You don't have to try to catch a baby coyote to break the ice, but sharing real people connect with real people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my last question is, this can be silly, serious, whatever's on your mind, but what is something you can't stop talking about?
Okay, I'm going to talk about this one specifically for any FFA member listening. My official dress shoes right now are Clark's.
Oh, okay.
Clark's heels. Now they're a little bit more expensive than like the regular Amazon shoe, but I will tell you, when you're on your feet for like 12 hours at state conventions, these heels make the world of difference. Do my feet still get sore? Yes, but it's so much better than just like a cheap shoe from Amazon.
I was admiring your official dress shoes earlier,
Thank
and
you.
I thought I need to get the girls some of those. We are on the
Yes.
constant hunt for good official dress shoes. So shout out Clark's.
Clark's
Maybe
heels.
send us the link.
Yep, you can get them on Amazon.
You can? Okay. All right. Well, we'll share that.
Yes.
Caroline, any parting thoughts with Kentucky FFA members here on Growing Kentucky's Leaders?
It's just so good to be back, so good to be home. And, you know, one question I've gotten a lot, like as I've traveled, is you visited all these states. Do you think that you want to move to a different one, like after your year of service? And honestly, traveling has just made me appreciate Kentucky more and the culture we have and the people we have. And, like, Kentucky FFA is really one of a kind. So, Kentucky FFA members, you're lucky. Like, we have a pretty great state. So
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And we're going to keep have leaders like you, growing leaders like you, keep making it a great state.
Thank you.
So, and students listening, this week, lives are going to change here at State FFA Convention.
Yes.
You know, students are going to have their name called and see years of culminating hard work pay off and celebrated. And the students who are sitting in the audience, those middle school FFA members who you just got to meet outside talking to, in 5 or 6 years, it'll be them on that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
so
full circle
special.
moment. So, Caroline, I almost called you Ruth Ann. I was thinking about her. We miss Ruth Ann.
We
She's
do.
not here with me today. But Caroline, it's a joy to watch you grow and lead.
Thank you.
And I'm proud of you. And thanks for being on our show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank you all for listening to this episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. Growing Kentucky's Leaders is a podcast brought to you by the Kentucky FFA Foundation. Our music is performed by Bourbon County FFA member Joe Fritch. Artwork is by Julie Fritch Creative. Your hosts are Sheldon McKinney and Ruth Ann Fink, and you can find us on all social platforms at Kentucky FFA.